Welcome to the Milkroots podcast, episode 3. I'm eating a hot dog right now. I made a hot dog, turned on my laptop, and immediately started recording. Got a good episode for you today, guys. So I was just minding my own business the other day, getting myself ready to go out in the cold and get some stuff done when all of a sudden, my phone started playing a song that caused me to burst out in tears. And that's actually a typical Wednesday for me. So there I was, distracted by music for about 30 minutes. I sent a good morning text to my girlfriend. What took me so long to do that? It's noon already. My life is out of control. And to tell you the truth, I've been loving it. But then again, sometimes I wish I hadn't performed that spell from the Necronomicon all those years ago to introduce more chaos into my life. It feels like it might have been a mistake. And after what's been happening around me the past few years, and from what I've seen of the rest of the world through the internet, I think whatever I summoned is running loose. And I've doomed us all, basically. Was I the first person to do this? Of course, I know I wasn't. Many people before me have tried the same spells or similar spells, and every time they do, they're releasing more chaos throughout the whole planet. Is it time to stop? I don't know. That's why I'm really curious to know who my listeners are. Do I have to beg for likes and comments? How can I engage with you if you yourself don't say anything? I'm doing all the talking here. I'm fine with that. That's why I started a podcast, so I could record myself talking and hope that someone is listening. Okay, you don't have to respond. I'm happy to be here doing this thing that I feel compelled to do. I have things to say. I feel like there are people who want to listen. I know that people are at least clicking on my videos, so that's good enough. I assume some of my listeners are kind of like me. About 30 years old, maybe older, and probably, I don't like to use labels, but I think you might be one of those emo goth types. You were born in the 90s, and you like good music. That's what I think. Well, this is the Goth Emo podcast you've been looking for all your life. I'm recording this at 3 a.m., drinking from an endless stream of coffee and smoking cigarettes. Just kidding. I've never in my life inhaled the smoke of a cigarette, and I never will. However, I do enjoy spliffs very much. Hey, maybe you're an old lady. I love old ladies. New subject. Art imitates reality. Life imitates art. The universe follows suit. The universe creates life. The universe creates its own suffering. The universe is a brain, such as the brains within the life forms that it creates. Just a theory. And you know I'm not the first person to theorize this. Yes, I know there's nothing you can do that hasn't already been done. In theory, this episode is about theories. Just kidding. This is still a podcast about nothing, and I will not stop jumping from subject to subject in attempts to try and keep you on your toes. I had a silly confrontation at the gas station the other day with a man on a bike. You see, he was the first person to try asking me why I was just sitting in my car at the air pump, and I hadn't completely worked out in my head yet how I was going to explain myself to anyone if they asked why I was blocking the air pump. The darn pump was broken, and instead of putting air in my tire, it sucked the air out and gave me a flat. But I didn't really know exactly that is what happened. I figured there must be a hole in my tire. So anyway, this guy on a bike starts talking to me through my window, and I already assume anyone who comes up to me right now probably thinks I'm some sort of idiot. Like, I don't know how to use the pump or something. And my car isn't on, so I can't roll my window down. So I open my door a little and I just say to him, "Yeah, it's flat." And he says, at least I think this is what he said because my memory is weird sometimes. He said something like, "Are you using this? There are people waiting." I remember the next few things he said really well though. So then I think I just said, "No, it's flat." And he says, "Well, you're just sitting in your car." So now I'm sure, for the moment, this guy thinks I'm some sort of idiot. And I try to explain better. It went flat as I was putting air in it. So now I'm waiting for someone. And he says, "Oh." And I say, "Yeah, no, I'm not an idiot. I'm just waiting." And he says, "I didn't say you were an idiot." I said, "I know." And then I closed my door. Now, there is more to this story. However, that was the entirety of my interaction with that man on a bike. But I want to tell you what happened next so I don't seem like a complete fool. If only it didn't take me so long to figure out what I'm going to say before I say it. But then again, I think that's a good thing. Even if it sometimes causes me to give short, vague, and confusing responses at the worst times. But let's continue to what happened after I closed the door. The guy on the bike uses the air pump on his bike tire, and it kind of seemed like it worked for him, but I don't think it did. Then a person in a truck behind me stretches the hose all the way to their tires. Remember, I'm blocking the pump. People can still use it because the hose stretches pretty far, but yeah. Anyway, I was watching the screen on the air machine as this other person was trying to use it, and the tire pressure was definitely going down. So That person stops and drives away, and then another person shows up. This time, I've gathered my thoughts, and I'm gonna start letting people know that the thing is broken. So this lady asked me if I was using it, and I told her, I think something is wrong with it. My tire went flat as I was trying to use it. But she says, I'm gonna try it anyway. And sure enough, it was sucking the air out of her tires. And I told her, yep, that's why my tire is completely flat now. And, well, I think I've told enough detail at this point. 2 other people tried to use the air pump. Eventually, they put an out of order sign on it. My stepdad was who I was waiting for. He took the tire off and put air in it at another gas station. The reason why I'm telling you this story is I have no idea. But I was at that gas station for almost 2 hours. And in that time, I interacted with at least 5 different strangers. And it got me thinking about projection. The way we project ourselves onto other people. Or, in a sense, we project characters onto other people. Some guy comes walking up to you, hasn't said a word to you yet, and you're like, this guy thinks I'm an idiot. I didn't say you were an idiot. Oh, I know that, Mr. Whoever you are. It wasn't you. It was the voices in my head. I'm not listening. Can we just have a normal podcast? Never! Play the soothing sounds. Man, I love that track. Who is still listening? I think probably old people. Well, guess what? My next guest is someone who you might know. But I couldn't get him for today's episode. It's going to have to be next week. Plus, this one is long enough already. Also, if you were tuning in to hear that crazy cop story that I mentioned in the last episode, I said that I would only tell that story if I could get at least 5 likes on that episode. That didn't happen. But the interview in that one is definitely worth listening to, in my opinion. It might make you laugh a little. Okay, talk to you later.